Okay, so let me go ahead and start. Zones. Zones are very interesting. Over the years, it's been kind of. What's up, Nakano? Um, it's been interesting to hear people say like, "Oh, we have the zone algorithm. We know exactly how the zone works. We know this about the zone. Like, oh, I have this top secret file that tells me exactly how the zones work," which is like not true. Um, because we don't know the zone algorithm. The zone algorithm will never get into the hands of any players or coaches because then the game would just be fucked after that. But there's a couple of things we do know about the zones. There's a couple of things we do know. They're very very simple things. Um, so this is everything we do currently know about the zones. Like this is guaranteed. This is 100%. Like we know all of this. So first things first is we know that zones avoid unplayable areas. So whenever there's a zone pool, um, you can always immediately cross out the fact that like it won't end in certain areas simply because there is not enough playable space. Right? Let me pull up my Epic then. So just as an example, very easy example, the zone will never end here or in any of these blank areas simply because there is no playable space here. None of this exists. These are either gaps or big buildings, right? So we know that for a fact. Anything that the game categorizes as unplayable will never have a zone ending, right? So cliffs, steep terrain, chokes, tunnels, out of bounds, all of that, it'll just never happen. So the next thing we know is batch. There's batches of zones. We know that every season there is a predetermined set of zones that will be selected for that season. Um, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but like sometimes I don't know if they still notice it or even say it at this point because like we already know. But back in the day, people would say like, "Oh, like this season so far we haven't had an ending here, so they probably removed all the endings at this POI or at this POI." So like, for example, how do I get World's Edge? Hold on, let me pull up World's Edge. I can. There you go, perfect. So I forgot what meta it was. I think it was like Valk, Watson, like Gibby or something like that. We used to have a good amount of countdown zones, right? But if you've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we haven't really had those at all, like in a couple seasons. And when you even practice the LGS Ring Guesser, which is, I think it includes the seasons of like the last 2 or 3 years, probably less than that. You don't get any zones here. All the zones, whenever you get them in this countdown area, will either go this way or this way. They'll just never go countdown. So that's another thing we know for a fact is there are predetermined batches of zones that cycle in and out of each season. So like maybe this season they're gonna be like, all right, let's throw in the dome endings that are across the map from all these people, and then they'll leave it for a few seasons, and then they'll swap it out. And the way you determine, which set of zones we have is just pattern recognition. Like there's really no way of knowing like off day one. You would just have to play the game and take count of where the zones are ending and just be like, oh, well, it's been 3 weeks. I've played the game 10 hours a day. There's no end zones at the dome. So they got rid of them for this season, or they got rid of these or these or these. So we know that. What else do we know? So we know that zone momentum exists. So have you guys ever heard of this? You guys ever heard of zone momentum?
I have not.
Like basically, it's just not a counter pool, is like what you're saying.
Um, what do you mean?
Or is it the one where the zone pulls toward an edge that touches the previous zone?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's called. Okay.
So yes,
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm guessing.
yeah, zone momentum basically just means that the next zone will either catch the momentum of the first ring, which it usually does, or the second ring, right? So there's two ways. No, I'm not going to use the word guaranteed, and everything I say should not be taken as like 100% because at the end of the day, zones are, you can only guess them. They will never be, you will never guess them 100%. Like out of 20 zones, there's a chance you can get 18 right, but you will never, probably never get 100% right, right? So yeah, there's like two things that zones usually do. They pull off the momentum of the first zone or the second zone. And I'm pretty sure you guys have heard people say like, "Oh, are the zones touching?" or "How hard did the zone pull?" Because zone momentum is a thing, right? So, see, let's see if I can get it first try. For example, this zone is very centered, right? So it'll probably keep doing that. Yeah, there you go. So exactly. So this zone isn't really pulling super hard this way, or this way, right? Um, so most likely it has the momentum of centering out. It's not going to really go anywhere. And since we could see the second zone, which is also centered out, it's kind of guaranteed, like not guaranteed. Sorry, let me, like I said, not use that word. The zone will most likely continue the same pattern of the previous zones: center, 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 and then center, right? But like I said, that doesn't always happen. The zone algorithm is random, and we do have random batches of zones. Like there is a chance that this could go this way because maybe one of the batches look exactly like this, right? We have the first zone here, second zone, but there's a chance you might get a different batch of zones where instead of going centered, it actually just decides to do this. That's why it's not guaranteed every time. But we do know that zone momentum exists, and we can sometimes do our best to guess where it's going to go based off of that, right? So for example, it's hopefully I get like a really hard pulling zone. Yeah, here we go. So this one's pulling pretty hard. There is a chance it will keep going this way pretty hard. There we go. So pulls really hard in this direction. Again, pulls really hard in the direction. We can see it's touching down here. Why do I keep doing that? So it'll most likely just keep doing that. It'll just keep following the momentum of the zones and pull really hard. But there's other zones that it's kind of harder to determine, right? So far we've gotten like really easy ones. One that's centered and then centered and then centered. But sometimes you get centered touching. So then what happens to that, right? So that's where you kind of have to take in all the other factors. Okay, is how many unplayable areas are there? What batch of zones do I know so far? Like pattern recognition. What have I seen so far this season? How can I determine the way this zone will behave based off of what I see, right? So let's see if we get one like that right now. So pulling. It's probably just gonna keep pulling. I don't know. Yeah. Let's go next. So pulling again. Okay. Okay, centered. Pulling. So now we have one like this. It'll probably go here. Okay, yeah, perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. So zone momentum again, right? Now we have a centered zone, but it pulls and it's touching, right? So, like I said, we take in all the other factors. How much of the space is unplayable, and how many times have I probably seen this zone before that I can make an assumption of where it will go. So, like I said, momentum. The first zone is centered. The second zone is touching. Now, why will it not just continue going the momentum of the second zone? Because we know that all of this is unplayable. Unplayable, unplayable, unplayable. And so much of the zone is in this area that it probably won't go this way, right? So that's how we determine, okay, it's probably going to center out because the momentum of the first zone was centered on the map. It's not really pulling too hard that way, this way. It's mostly centered, and we know that this is all unplayable. So the likelihood of it's just pulling, further away from the unplayable areas and centering is high because first zone is centered, right? Momentum, and this is unplayable. Who just joined? Do I have to go over that again? Let's see. NASA and Hornets. So, do you guys want me to go over that really quickly again?
I'm fine with it.
So does that all make sense so far? Everybody that's been here since the beginning?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, good. So the whole goal of this, the whole point of this, is to just like help you consistently guess zones because, like I said, you will never guaranteed guess all of them right, simply because there's so many different zones that exist in one zone. How do I explain that better? So there's a chance that you can get a zone that looks exactly like this, 1, 2, but instead of going here, it might go here. Because this singular zone right here probably has like another 5 to 10 zones that exist inside of it. So all you have to do is literally just take your best guess based off of what you know and just commit to a spot based off of that guess. Let's go again. So this one's fairly centered and off to the left. So I'm assuming it'll just keep going like maybe in this direction. It should center out kind of. Yeah. Again, why? Because of the momentum of the first zone, right? First zone, fairly centered. Yeah, sure, this one's touching. Yeah, sure, it's pulling really hard that way, but it'll probably follow the momentum of the first zone. Right, so next. Pulling slightly harder this way, then it goes up and to the right. So maybe here, maybe centered, but it should go more this way. Let's see, can I guess before it ends? So we can see the exact one. Okay, nice. So it went up this way. So yeah, like I said, all you have to do is take your best guess, pick a spot in zone, and just play towards that. Because you're never going to guess it perfectly. And if you do, then you're fucking nuts. Because it does happen every now and then where you guess exactly where it will end. But for the most part, if I'm being honest, reading zones is fairly easy. You do get them wrong sometimes. But it's all about literally these three things. It's pattern recognition, the fact that zones avoid unplayable areas, and zone momentum. So let me actually put these in a separate category. Fuck. So most important things. Pattern recognition. Avoid unplayable areas. And zone momentum. Have you guys ever struggled with trying to guess where a zone is going? Or you take a guess and you're just like, Jesus Christ, that was so bad? No, you guys are all goats? Fuck, my bad. I didn't know you guys were all really good at guessing. Hello,
I think
hello.
it was a lot easier, like in the earlier seasons. Like it was incredibly predictable, and then they changed how it worked, and it
Yes,
got
because
a
everybody
little
got
bit harder.
yeah, everybody got really good at it. And back then, like when I IGL'd with Noko and Zed, all zones did this same thing. They would pull in a direction and then pull again, and they just kept doing that over and over and over again. So it was really easy to read zones. But then they introduced like the fact that they could pull back or pull away or pull the opposite way or center out, and that's when it started getting interesting. But since we know so much about zones now, and the fact that these little simple things exist, it makes it really easy to God damn it. Makes it really easy to actually read zones consistently. So like practicing this is like fairly easy. Literally just open Apex Ring Guesser, and I would start with this one first so that you could practice the pattern recognition, because this I think has less zones in it than this one, because this is just like all pub games. This one is just ALGS games that have happened. So like yeah, just practicing this and just like really taking a good look at the zone. Like okay, the first one pulled really hard to the up left, but then this one did an opposite pull. So which momentum is it going to follow, the first one or the second one, or is it going to balance out? And then you start just like trying to read them, and it's just like really good practice, and it makes playing comp or like ranked way easier if you're trying to get a good spot in zone, because literally this is all you have to do. You just open this shit up, look at a zone, try to like guess where it's gonna go. I actually don't know where this one's going, but yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, pretty basic idea. I don't think it's very hard to grasp. And I was trying to figure out how to explain this like a week ago, but I still didn't know how. But now I've basically, I mean, figured out it's just these three things, which I didn't realize like zone reading was actually that simple. I thought it was a little harder. For the most part, I just guessed zones based off of like my experience, you know, from fucking hours of playing end games and seeing zones and where they end. But I guess technically you don't even have to do all that. You don't have to play the game for a year or two or three. You could just do this. Literally, pattern recognitions. Make sure you pay attention to what's not playable, and then guess off of the momentum of either the first or the second zone. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What do you? Is there anything like specific here that might have lost any of you guys? I think everyone's good. Oh wait, we got some typing. I'm still gonna hang out in here for like an hour. I just wanted to go over this because I think it's I can get 500 to 600 score. That's not bad. I would consider like 700 to 750 like where you start getting good NASA. So I would definitely like take these things into consideration and start applying that to when you're playing the game or when you're playing the zone guesser. And I can bet you your numbers are going to go up. Now, like I said, zones are random still for the most part. So every now and then you will get fucked by the zone because you're just like, wait, what the hell was that? But I guess that's the beauty of it. The zone is meant to be random at the end of the day so that you're not able to guess it every time. But yeah, you can get consistently good at it by just applying zone momentum, unplayable areas, and trying your best to guess that. But even when I play it, like consistently, I'll probably get like 750 to 800. But every now and then, I get absolutely fucked, and I'll get like a 500 or 600, and I'm just like, wow, I was not expecting that. But yeah, I mean, zones are pretty simple for the most part. And like I said, applying that stuff will get you better at trying to guess where they will go. And if you guys do end up playing comp, you know, like it'll help you a lot. It'll help you a fuck ton. That way you're not lost trying to figure out where zones are going. But one thing I will say for sure is don't ever try to guess off zone one. Don't ever try to guess off zone one because you will get baited so hard. There's so many ways, different ways that the zone can actually go based off of zone one that it'll actually hurt you more than it'll help you. Whenever you're in situations where you don't have beacon off zone one, just go hit a player scan and pay attention to where all the little arrows are going. Like if everybody's looking this way, like that, then it's probably just going this way, right? So yeah, I mean, super simple, super basic. I just wanted to make it super quick. I mean, I'm still gonna be here for the remaining of the hour just to hang out and answer questions or just like chill with you guys. But I did want to go over zones really quickly and kind of explain what I've learned or what we know about zones because I feel like most people for some reason struggle with zones even though they shouldn't because at this point we know so much about how they work. Fairly straightforward. Yeah. That's pretty much it.